What's up guys, James here from Knives and Stones. As you can see here, I have a few 1000 stones. The 1000 Naniwa Chosera, the 1000 Shapton, the 1000 Suehiro Cerax, and the 1000 good old King. Now I have one question for your sharpening folks. That is, have you ever considered the true meaning of the word 1000? Many of you would instantly think about 1000 as 1000 grit, and therefore they say, look, they're all 1000 grits, you know? I have tested a few of them in my life, and I found I love Shapton a bit more than probably the Suehiro, because the Shapton is a lot faster. And some would say, I love the Chosera because the Chosera gives a great feedback and it just feels more smooth. So the debate goes on, and there are many different opinions online thinking about preferring one stone compared to the other, preferring one brand compared to the other. The truth is, the 1000 doesn't really mean that much. And if I tell you the Shapton 1000 has a totally different smoothness compared to the Naniwa Chosera 1000, you will be thinking, what is this guy talking about? Is he just kidding? Well, without further ado, let's find out in today's 1000 stone testing. On today's stone comparison test, I will be using this little guy here. This is the Japanese kiridashi knife. It has a flat side on one side and hollow grind on the other. So it's basically a single bevel small knife that resembles Yanagiba. And what we will do is, we will lay one side flat, sharpen it on the stone so that you can see the scratch pattern, and we just will lap it on the other side. To spice things up, I will have this Naniwa Chosera 400 grit throw into the mix as well. Trust me, the result is going to be very, very interesting. As any serious sharpening, we have to always flatten the stones. Even if the stone is new, it is still a good idea to flatten the surface of it. Then we strop the kiridashi to remove the burr. Once we finish, we go to the Knives and Stones lab, which we have a couple of very nice microscopes. This particular microscope is made by Olympus. It is probably made in the 1960s, and it's gifted to me by Shoichi Hashimoto, the crazy Damascus guy. And we have a digital camera on top. Once we put the finished kiridashi here, we will be able to take a very high resolution image of the edge and the surface. So guys, what do you think after seeing the result that I presented to you under the microscope? My conclusion is that the Shapton 1000 is probably not a true 1000 grid stone, in the sense that the grid is defined by the number of particles within a specific volume inside the stone. These three here, the Naniwa 1000, the Naniwa Chosera 1000, the Suehiro Cerax 1000 or 1010, and the good old King Deluxe 1000, they have a very similar scratch pattern, and the feedback during the sharpening process is actually quite similar. Whereas the Shapton 1000, I have to say, it feels more like the 400 rather than the 1000. I would say it's probably somewhere about 600 grit. That's my experience with it. If you have other experience or other ideas, please do let me know. But this is how I feel. I've used many of them, and to me, Shapton 1000 is a bit too coarse. So you have to put that in mind. Of course, that translates to a much faster speed when you're sharpening. And I also decided to record the sound during the sharpening process. As you can imagine, along with the higher grit stone, you hear less and less of a sound. That's because the particles in the higher grit stone are much finer. Therefore, you don't really hear anything, hear the abrasive cutting through the metal. Whereas if the stone is a bit more on the coarse side, the sound will get a bit more roughed and you will hear it as well. So I decided to throw in the test. Okay, so this is the test I'm not doing. I have pointed my mic direct to the stone, and this is the zoom out view of the overhead camera, and now I'm just gonna zoom it in. And this is the Chosera 400. Naniwa 1000. Shapton 1000. Suehiro 1000. King 1000. So guys, after presenting you with the sharpening results from different stones using the microscope, I hope that you are getting the idea that not all 1000 stones are the same, and in fact different manufacturers have a different system of naming their sharpening stones. There's an excellent chart on Wikipedia that I will put a reference link to this video that talk about how different grids matches to the different claimed grids by different manufacturers. And yes, it confirms that the Shapton is definitely on the rougher side compared to, say, the Naniwa or the Suehiro. I'm not here to bashing Shapton. I think it's an excellent stone. It's just that as an end user, sometimes just by looking at the number that the manufacturers put up is, I would say, not the most informative number out there. and you really have to, throughout your sharpening journey, understand which grit feels better in my hand and it works better for me. And definitely don't try to mix and match in saying that, okay, I have a Shapton 1000 here, and then I'm gonna match it to a Naniwa Chosera 3000, then the jump is too big. I'd rather match a Chosera 3000 with a Chosera 1000 because it's a true 3 times jump, whereas the Shapton is not. And we shouldn't really just easily compare the 1000 grit of, say, Shapton compared to the 1000 Naniwa Chosera, because in reality, these two are apples and oranges in a sense that they have different true grits. And if you ask me what's my opinion about these 4 stones, I'd say the Chosera is what we use in our shop. It gives excellent feedback and it's very close to the true 1000 grit I like to use as the starting point of my sharpening progression. The Shapton, on the other hand, you probably should start on the 2000 rather than 1000, which is a little bit on the rougher side. And yes, it is very fast, and if that works for you, that's great. The Suehiro 1000 is an excellent stone if you're doing a lot of wide bevel sharpening, and if you primarily use carbon knife, then the Suehiro will give you an excellent result. And for the King 1000, it is a little bit rough and it is a little bit slow as well. It dishes quicker than the others. If you are using a lot of the modern steels such as the R2 or ZDP 189, for example, then it probably won't be able to handle it. And that's it from me for today. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you on the next episode.